What is up, guys? It's your boy. I haven't looked at myself yet today. That's a whoopsie. All right. It's your boy, GymRatCrypto. This is Crypto in the Morning Live every single day, 11 a.m. Eastern. And most of the time at 1 p.m., I go on live GymRatCrypto show. I bring on a guest or I do a video reaction. That's at 1 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, we have an enormously large amount to talk about today, probably too much to fit into any sort of episode. We have Sam STOLT and Axis Alive, probably two of the most calculated, open-minded men in the weeds of crypto right now. You know, like these guys are fucking savages, brother, in different ways too, in total different ways. Like, you know, we just want to put good work into the world and get the benefits of it, change the world faster, make the world a better place faster. And a lot of the times the plebs they're slowing down. A lot of these plebs are slowing down the adoption of crypto because they're telling everyone that LP is bad, scary. Oh my God, it's so scary. I did 9 LP positions yesterday. Not scary, bro. 3 different computers, all written down. Perma-wrecked, everyone but me, perma-wrecked. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, it wasn't scary at all. Frankly, it was easy. And frankly, the fees were negligible, close to zero. I think I might have spent $2 on fees and probably did, 100 transactions. That's insane. That's what I wanted. That's what Richard Hart told me I wanted long ago. And I said, I can't imagine there being cheap fees, but maybe one day, because I'm not willing to use Binance because I don't know enough about that. And everyone says it's bad. And I was new. Okay. Everyone told me, everyone fudded. It's all FUD. You know why? Because the people you're learning from don't give one actual shit about anything, but they're pathetic, worthless internet bags. Like that, it's not as important as the concepts here about providing liquidity, about $1 in, $1 out. It doesn't change at any point. And this is DeFi. So if it's dollar in and dollar out in Hex, ETH, everything, LP pools, that's how it works, guys. There's no imaginary money. When people say there's free money, yes, someone else is fronting liquidity for you because they're trying to do a launch. Okay, so you get a little bit of money on that. But at the end of the day, these stable coins can't be forked over because you cannot fork fake dollars over. That's why these things have to start at zero. That's why this is taking time. That's why people have to learn that this isn't as easy as just fork the chain and give it hell. No, Richard wants to create something absolutely beautiful I really do think. Like if the UI and fees are cheap over here, like I think the UI over there is probably going to be 10x better. Richard is detail oriented. I'm excited for Pulsechain, but that is not happening right now. Okay. So that could happen next year. People are like in my DMs telling me Pulsechain. I'm like, when? I don't get to make those decisions. I need to move on. I need to provide liquidity on these new chains because I frankly want to help the health of these chains rather than be a total idiot and just protect your crap and be scared of the future and say miners are only there because they need to keep running. There's a much more nuanced conversation that needs to be had about all this. But today it's going to be more about the numbers because we got Axis Live in here. We got Sam in here. We want to be talking about Hex, Hedron, ETH, WETH, ETH Fair. Guys, we're talking about LP ranges. We're talking about the entire ethos of the new chains and the proof of stake chain as well. I'm very curious. I hope the proof of stake chain is amazing. But the price for those fees, that I don't know about, and I'm not playing with that shit. The fees are wrecked. I'm just not, like, period. So guys, real quick promo video that Bullish Ox put together. This gets everyone pumped up, and then when we come back, 1 minute 9 seconds, we're going to be talking to Axis. We're going to be talking to Sam STOLT, to absolute alpha males about liquidity providing V2, V3, and all of the game theory, all of the numbers. And then I'm sure Axis wants to do a 20-minute spin. Just give us hell, Axis. I mean, golly.
asking if this was me. No, it's not me. And then I saw another guy asking about an influencer. Like I retweeted this GymRatCrypto that's having a Hexagon Fitness Challenge.
Sam, I fucked up the last button. I did the crypto in the evening button instead of the absolute crypto in the morning button, guys. We're gonna just start it here because that was a good little promo video to get people pumped up for San Diego. Bullish made that video.
The background is also a.
Oh yeah, I'll switch that. Sorry, I was streaming yesterday.
There we go. Or default this one here until we have our special guest on. I haven't talked to Axis in a while. I also haven't had a really good conversation about LP in maybe like 46 hours. So I'm really looking forward to this. LP with V2, LP with V3. Also, when you get into this game, like we're having this conversation, but it might, right? Like we've been in this focusing on it daily for a while. So if you're just getting rocking and rolling, this might be like something you focus on in the future, but it also might be something you want to do right now. But just be aware that like building your position is probably like the foremost thing in your mind to do that, right?
And I've been doing that for 700 days. So guys, just understand, like I am the new user. Nobody comes into crypto day one knowing what they're doing. It takes them about a year. But let's just go ahead and say I got to skip a little bit of that time and I was working and focused, but I studied the last 300 days. So I know what's going the fuck on. Okay. So I just want people to know I am the new user. So when I say I'm doing these things, understand that I'm having a liberating experience with these cheap fees that I've never had personally. This is liberating to me. I feel like this is crypto. I feel like Richard has been getting me wanting to have this. I didn't even know this is what I wanted, but Richard was all over the internet telling everyone cheap fees and good UI. And I was like, I want cheap fees and a good UI. I can't imagine. You know what I mean? Because I never experienced it. So it's like, what am I supposed to extrapolate in my head? I can't imagine something that's never existed in a world that I don't know the future. So I think it's important to understand, guys, that just because I'm staking a certain amount of money over there and earning a certain amount of yield, the same amount of money over here is technically the same amount of yield because you're using a bigger unit, a larger amount of unit, you're getting a larger amount of supply. So it's important that we think about all of these things as we go forward with Axis. But then we're going to talk about V2, V3, and then there's going to be like 20 minutes where Axis is just going to want to spill his guts because I need him to, because when he starts going, it's truly.
Let's bring him on. Give a bicep in the chat.
Biceps in the chat for my man.
Crypto in the morning.
Never gets old. It never gets old. Never gets old.
What's up, guys? What's up? Sam STOLT.
Great.
It's been a minute.
Yes. How you doing? I'm awesome. How are you doing, sir? How was your I think you were traveling recently. How are you doing?
I'm recovered. I'm recovered, man. I'm recovering from Vegas withdrawals. It was pretty fun, man. And there was a lot of good experiences had there. A lot of connections were made. And I've really not been more bullish on the space. I mean, everybody that dumped was in Vegas. So we're all sitting pretty right now.
Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with crypto when you had, because I'm assuming there was a time where you had a really easy experience, kind of like what I just explained. And I wanted people to get a kind of a reference on you too, for the people that are new in here, about when you were getting a little more early involved in crypto, when that was, what you were seeing, what you were feeling as you got into crypto, because you're a young man.
I remember the first time I bought Bitcoin in 2017. It was like March, and I think Bitcoin was trading at like $3,200 on Coinbase. I went on there and I had $1,500 in my checking account. Money to me had a completely different meaning back then, before crypto. And when I went to hit the buy button, I remember my hand was like literally shaking because I did not know if I was making the worst decision of my life or the one thing that could set me free. And until you've made that as a no coiner, until you've made that decision, you will always be on that other side of that fence. So you don't have to put a lot in to just start to see this work for you. I think that's something that gets lost on a lot of no coiners. And another thing too is when we're talking publicly to people, there's a lot of things that goes over people's heads because we're using vernacular that they're not used to. And we're also not making it clear why you would even want to do something like liquidity provide in the first place, because that's like a man's game of crypto, that it's just a couple layers too deep for your everyday user. So
It really should be. It should
we should just let everyone know that this stream today is going to be more focused on the advanced strategies that goes into market making in cryptocurrency in a decentralized ecosystem, because that's key in knowing we're all individual participants in a true free market that can literally go to zero or the moon for no apparent reason. But you just have to set your risk levels and try to stay within that bounds, and that actually directly applies to liquidity providing, something we're going to talk about today a little bit. And I have some visuals to show that's going to kind of try to explain it in a way that makes sense.
I'm looking forward to it. The story you just told about Bitcoin, I think there's like an underlying piece on there that a lot of people have to go through, of whether it's that pressing that buy button to purchase crypto for the first time, and it's $1,500, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's that time when somebody goes through and starts investing, whether that's investing into themselves and they do a coaching program, whether that's investing into, buying some very expensive books to learn, whether it's investing into a group, whether it's investing in buying crypto or stock or real estate or a business or whatever it is. And there's the apprehension of, am I doing the right thing? Am I going to lose this money? And for anybody who hasn't done that or hasn't experienced that or is currently going through that, you're like, don't know what to do, or you feel that apprehensiveness.
You've never fronted anyone a large bag of marijuana, clearly, because when you were younger, because it's the same feeling. If you're like, this guy's like, hey, or it's a similar feeling though. You're making an investment risk, and that is something that 60% of the human race knows nothing about.
And recognize that, like, just like getting into the gym and you don't curl 10 pounds every single time for the rest of your life because your body is adapting, like your mind and you are going to adapt the more you invest, so you get more and more comfortable with investing, right? And that's how it sets you free, right? Like Axis is a completely different man today than he was in 2017. Partly because
I bought
he started
Bitcoin
investing
2 years after that for the same price. I bet a lot of the people.
Oh, geez, here we go.
No, but I'm saying because no one could have extrapolated COVID-19. No human in this world could have extrapolated that they would not let us leave the house.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened.
I mean, dude, that accelerated everything. Do you remember how many office buildings got vacated? Like that totally changed real estate, commercial real estate. Something like that. It's completely shifted the supply chain dynamic. Completely fucked up all the charts.
Yeah,
what an opportunity zone.
$20K to 3,400 in weeks.
The only thing you couldn't have predicted out of that was the money printing. Everything else was being called for years, and it never came, and it never came, and it never came, and then all of a sudden, bam.
COVID-19 was their opportunity to print more money. It was like more like the gateway.
Was that Sam?
But the printing of the money, I agree, right? But in the one sense, and this is the first time I'm kind of thinking about it this way, because I just think of it as like very poor policy decisions in the previous life as of yesterday, right? But as of this conversation, I'm like, actually, I'm thankful that they printed all this money because it's forcing an awakening of the biggest magnitude I've ever seen in my life, even though it's relatively short. But I think this is like the tipping point of the biggest shift we have ever seen in humanity, right? Where we go to this decentralized, it's going to be a wild ride. And in the next several years, we're going to see businesses that no longer operate in the traditional sense of a business, and it's going to be a decentralized business. Like we're already seeing this in terms of DAOs, and that's like the 1.0. Well, you're going to have 2.0 DAOs that are companies that are bigger than Apple, and which is like $2.5 trillion, right? You're going to have companies like that are operating in a decentralized manner. And this is
almost like DeFi is absorbing all those companies. It's a matter of technology, like a technological level. It can't be circumvented.
Yeah. So Axis, let's dive into the LP stuff, because otherwise we're going to go.
I got a screen share that I'd like to bring up just as like a preface to all this, so that you guys can really get a visual of what this means.
please.
See if I can find it here. 1 second. All right. If you can
And
bring that up, GymRat. No, I need you guys to jump in on this. So you're going to see 3 graphics here. This is the hex price chart. And what these color-coded boxes are, they're the liquidity ranges that correspond to each of these blocks down here. So like this big thick wall of liquidity in the middle is basically from 3 to 4 cents. So if you were, and then if you look up here where the price traded the most along this time frame, it traded in the green box the most. So the goal of the liquidity provider as a market maker is to try to capture the most value as possible for where the price is going to trade. And you can see here that when things are trending, you can like ladder out your liquidity out this way towards like 4 and 5 cents when it's trending up, and then you can capture some of that value on the run up. And then as we get into talking about liquidity providing strategies and trading thought styles of trading and stuff like that, you're going to try to anticipate what a user might do. So if I take my brush here, let's say the price is right here. I think this was roughly right here at like 3.1 cents or something. And then the price has been churning up to like, I don't know where we get up to 3.5 or something. That looks like on this liquidity chart is it like the price went to like the edge here. And now it's turning around. So like the liquidity providers that provided in this zone captured the most fees and value from this move up. And now they can sell it down, get the price back here. And then either this is where you risk a market event at this level here at the 3 cent level, or the price turns right back around and people make more fees on the next ride up, which basically just continues the sideways bottoming pattern on the hex chart. So what you want to do with all this is just really try to bring it all together for yourself, and maybe that this is a way to represent it that makes a little more sense.
No, this is cool. I also have a spreadsheet that I wanted to you hear your thoughts on too, but
Okay.
I like what you have set up here. One thing that I would like to point out about this is the distribution, or like the histogram at the bottom, right? So that's where he's got the 7 cents, 6 cents, 5 cents, etc. And thank you. What you can see here is that to the right-hand side, 2 cents and 1 cent, there's barely any liquidity there. And when you look at, most of this is done on V3. So what that means is you can put in single-sided liquidity, which is in the 4 cent box. You see there's a spike there. That's a single-sided liquidity position, right? And there's a little spike there.
Spike right here.
That's single-sided.
Somebody put in a single-sided liquidity. I'm assuming it was hex that somebody's trying to sell at that price.
Yes. And if you, so how I see this is the distribution around the center point, right? So the center point's 3.1 cents or whatever it is.
You get like a curve thing going on here.
Yes. And oh, that's a nice, very good drawing. But the way you drew it is perfect. That in statistics is called like the skewedness. So you have the center point, and then you have, is there more data on the left side of the center point, or is there more data on the right side of the center point? And the skewedness of it gives us an idea of where the market is looking, right? So when we look at this, for hex, we get to see that there's more sellers in the market for hex than there is buyers in the market, because they're providing liquidity above the current price to sell hex to people that are coming in or purchasing hex, right? Now, if it was shifted on the other side, then it would be the opposite of that. That's and it's not something.
That's a good point. I can add to that. So
please.
When you get to this level here where there's a drop off in liquidity, that's why your bell curve sharpens down. You're basically relying on outside market factors or some kind of scare event to really shake somebody down here. Because what happens when you go to sell at this price, if you sold $1 million here, you're gonna incur much more slippage than you would here. And what that means for a whale or somebody trying to exit is it's going to take a good, strong reason, such as forced selling in obvious economic downturns, that they don't care. They'll take the slippage and it's going to push the price down toward 1 cent quickly. But on the same token, if all the markets bounce for whatever reason, we're getting toward the end of the year, going into you can get into all the outside economic factors, but let's just spare that right now. let's say you get down here and like the price gets down here, and then look what happened on the hex chart. We freaking wicked. We did this already. We wicked all the way down to it was like an 18 it was like a 15% can wick here down, and it just got bought right back up in like 15 minutes or 30 minutes, which meant there was a huge bid demand here. And you can see even on the sell off this morning on hex, there it's catching bids on the moving averages, and we've started to create structure above. So we'd have to actually go in now and look at the liquidity currently, because that was an old liquidity chart. So if we actually go in now and we update everything, we look at what the liquidity is sitting like on the thickest books, we're safely tucked in the middle of a range right now where there's buyers on this side of the line and there's sellers on this side. And all it's going to take is a little snap above or below, and then you're going to get trend direction. Now, we've created so much price structure on this chart already. There's not, and with the addition of, we already got this move back here. It was like forgotten about it right away. No one really noticed it. We're just, everything looks great on hex to me right now. Like I was telling GymRat yesterday, like I'm pretty bullish on this, even with everything that's going on.
What are your, so I find this fascinating. What are your thoughts on ETH hex, right? We've got 3 versions of hex right now. And
so dude, I gotta say, because I just think that forget about everything you think you know about crypto. It's all getting shaken up here in the mid 2020s. And it's due to the fact that the narrative has completely changed away from the Bitcoin narrative. Most people are using crypto, aren't using Bitcoin on chain. They're using Ethereum or another smart contract platform to do functions. That's just natural evolution of technology. Where do you think the money's going to flow, you know? So for me, hex is an idea that's wrapped in time. So nothing is more transcendent than time itself. And hex monetized that, and they did it first in time. So it's just basically like, it's like the equivalent of creating Bitcoin 2.0, and it could have only been done right once. And it did, and they did it. And now it's an idea with this community that can live on all the chains, because there's just so much money made, even in the last cycle. And you know how much firepower is coming in the next cycle. There's just so much momentum in that idea. Hex is an idea that transcends across chain. It's going to become something much bigger than just a cryptocurrency. It already has, right?
And it's so early in the game on this.
I have a question for both of you guys. So, and I could be wrong about this, and all my V2 LP positions are not a lot of money. I was just trying to learn yesterday, so I wanted to set everything up. But my V3 ones are a little bit more, you know, my style. But my question is, when you provide LP on V2, okay, do you always get your principal back as far as what you put in?
You want to touch on that, Access? Or
I mean, you don't if you get impermanent loss. If you're, it depends. Are you valuing your bag in coin, or are you valuing it in stable coins? You know what I'm saying? Like that's
well,
when
you do V2, when you, yeah, I guess it depends what pair you're using.
If the price went down, then no. If the price went up, then yes.
Yeah, but you still have the same amount of coins, right?
You effectively,
it's going
to be similar to the same amount of coins. Yes,
it should. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a slight variance.
But you're not going to get ripped to one side like in V3.
No, not like on V3 where it's literally just the equivalent.
And that's what I've been trying to say in the chat. It's like you basically get your principal back, and you just earn 1,300% on fees when the things are brand new. Like, so what I'm curious about is where is this impermanent loss suffering on V2? Is it just because the price moves, but you still have the same amount of coins, and you could have bought at a different rate?
Pretty much, right?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I was saying.
With V2, you can't really control impermanent loss. With V3, you can control impermanent loss, because you can, if we go back to last thing on this chart here, and then I wanted to have it. So that wick that we see that's way down, right? If you go back onto the distribution, the histogram of the liquidity chart here, and that's in that, for everybody watching, that's to the right hand side, the tiny little bit.
Good point, Stam. This is perfect. So yeah, this here is 2.9 cents. So when we went down below, we went straight, because there's no liquidity here. You can see that you went from having $75,000 of USDC locked to all of a sudden $5,000. So somebody pushed the price all the way down here to 2.5, where this little block ends in one candle still.
And then talk about why that's like, why it's only a flick down for half.
Right, because like if it's 500 grand, each one of these ticks is 75 grand. Well, 5 times 75 grand is almost there, right? So, or it's a little over. But if you sold like 1 million, there's only so many 75 grand bars here that you can use as liquidity, and then all of a sudden you're doing 5 grand, 5 grand, 5 grand, 5 grand, 5 grand, 5 grand, 5 grand. You know what I mean? All the way out until that order's filled. So it like pushes the price down way faster because nobody's giving you an opportunity to sell at that price. So it's actually the market being bullish on the coin because it's like, well, if you're going to sell down here, then I don't really want, then I'm not going to give you the liquidity to do it. So then you're going to have to wait through time for this to churn back and forth between the heavier areas to get your orders through. And eventually that builds up momentum. And then you start to build price structure. And then this liquidity starts to get filled out this way and the price starts moving this way.
Mm-hmm. And it can't really, if they assume that demand is relatively constant over a short enough period of time, that if it goes into if it drops off of that cliff before people adjust their positions, if the demand is relatively constant, it's going to wick back up into that fat range because that's where the deepest market is for this. But I wanted to go back to touch on that and then get back into what GRC was saying. So for people who are not necessarily familiar with liquidity providing, on V2, this is Uniswap V2, and there's tons of forks out there of V2. When you provide liquidity, you provide liquidity like that thin band across the bottom of this chart here. That's what you're doing. You're providing liquidity across that entire range. Versus on V3, you can pick specific spots you want to provide liquidity in. So when you do this, you're providing it all over that whole range. So if one runs really, really hard and the other one drops or stays the same or runs at like 50% of what the first, like say coin A goes up by 100x, coin B goes up by 50x, you're going to be left with most of the 50x in there, but it's spread over the whole entire range. Versus like if you feel that something's going to run 50%, or I'm sorry, 50x or 100x with V3, you can switch your positions up so that you're in that token, or you're only in the market when, like, if you're like, hey, I have the belief that this is going to have a 100x on here, then you can change your position to try to take advantage of that position. Where on V2 you can't do that. You're spread out over the entire range, and then also you can
exactly what he just said. V2, if you're going to talk about LP, you better put a V2 or a V3 in front of it, or I am putting you in timeout. Because you can't confuse everyone if you're not being specific, guys. These are two different functions. Absolutely different functions, V2 and V3.
Keep in mind that most of the volume is being traded on V3. So I think by default, people think that when you're talking LP. So, but V2 is an opportunity.
But the new chains haven't adopted it as quick. That's kind of why, for me, it's been like
perfect segue into talking about your LP positions.
Yeah, and I would love to bounce these off you guys, and I can actually show them.
You should just screen share them. Yeah, it'd be sick.
I can screen share.
Oh yeah.
So I have a couple on this computer, and I'll give you guys the options to which one you want me to look at. So we have. Let me open it real quick just so I can double check. Why don't we go over here to here? I'll pull it up right now, guys. Talk for one more second while I'm. All
right, I got something to bring up. What did you? I need the quick and dirty opinion on what you guys think of Zen Crypto by Jack Levin.
I think it's going to absolutely dominate.
Okay, Sam.
I think that it is a very unique approach where you're pulling out the spigot and you're getting rid of the fluff, right? If you were to think Hex is like getting rid of a lot of the fluff, but it's still complicated in the sense that there's staking and there is T-shares and there's all these other pieces to it, right? Like getting rid of all of the fluff and you just have the spigot of inflation that anybody can access and without staking, right? Because you figure like Bitcoin, okay, you need a computer, right, to generate inflation. Hex you need to own and then you need to stake. Well, with Zen, you don't have to do either of those things. So it's closer to the individual. I think that's a very unique approach that's not been tried from my understanding before. And how he's set up like the game theory.
Yeah, the game theory. I knew you were going to say it, dude.
Very interesting, right?
It's so crazy. Like now you get to choose, do I want to mint immediately for less or do I want to wait for more? And it doesn't really matter because it's free, gas fee or whatever. But like It's
And then
such
the
a
buy the
cool
bottom game
concept.
theory on that is going to be wild, because the guys like me, all I want to do is, if there's any liquidity on that thing early, I'm going in so
So for
hard.
those of you that don't know, basically you
Please.
can literally open up an Ethereum wallet, go to the website Zen Crypto, and then basically click mint and just pay a gas fee and get free crypto. And if the longer you wait till it enters your wallet by holding out, the more coins you're gonna get. And that distribution curve is set up in a way that the guys that come later actually get more, but it takes longer to get more. So it's kind of like an interesting inflation schedule, and it's free, fair launched. The only thing that it measures against is time that it take cost to mint and gas. So like you'll have that underlying floor price of gas price basically. But then it's just interesting to think about redoing Bitcoin and fixing the problems with hex launch. Should be basically put into the code an adoption amplifier that just is just a metric that just measures the amount of new users coming on. It's such a simpler way of it's letting the code handle the whole process of
But he
inflation.
thinks that big investors will not come in if guys like Richard Hart and guys like the Ethereum Foundation own the majority of the supply. He is under the impression that his buddies, the Google guys, all the dudes that, because remember, Jack Levin knows a lot about scaling solutions, considering he was the 21st employee of Google, which every human on this
He built the
fucking
first
earth
data center.
uses. Every human uses it. He knows how to go to every human. He's
At
already
Google,
done
I mean,
it.
crazy.
Bullish
He's very freaking. I don't want to go on too far of a tangent here, but man, getting to talk to him in Vegas was awesome. I got like 40 minutes with him just to talk about Zen and talk about crypto and stuff. That was awesome.
So Bullish was saying this yesterday, but I don't remember this when I read through the white paper, and this will be like the last thing on here. With Zen, you have, I think, and I don't remember seeing this, but Bullish was saying that it actually is the case. If I mint, and then I can actually increase how much I'm able to mint if more people come into the pool after me. Because so what that does very simply is I want to use the word pyramid, but it's not the right term for this, right? It's definitely not. It's almost like I have the first fax machine, and the more people that have fax machines, the better it is for me, because now I can send a fucking fax to everybody, right? Like that's kind of how it's structured. So I have an incentive to tell more people about it, because you pay a gas fee.
Yeah,
right?
it's a pyramid if they had to pay to get in, and I mean technically there's a gas fee, but I don't think that really applies under this, context as like a pyramid, because like they're getting something for free, right? So it's
right.
it's the same. It's
Guys,
the same
check
concept,
this
but
out.
there's no bad side. It's just
Check
free
this
money.
out, guys. I mean, this is interesting. Okay, so this is Alien Swap, right?
Okay.
This is ethw.alienexchange.org/farms. Okay, so if you go here, you see I have put Alien and WETH in here, and this was yesterday, and I've earned $30 in the native token. Okay, I can harvest that right now and put it right back into here and earn even more US dollar today than I did yesterday. But do you understand, when I pull this out, I'm going to pull out my exact liquidity as well. Okay, so if you go here, you can actually add more LP token. That's just the difference of what I had before, but that's what this is. So if you pull that out, you can stake it on the liquidity front end and bring it right back here and add more to it. And that's what keeps people moving in these systems, keeps people staying in these systems. Because when things are new, look, 4,300% APY. Remember when Cake Swap came out, guys, and everyone was like, how is everyone earning such a god tier amount of money on Cake Swap? I mean, god tier. It's because no one was there yet. But the users in this ecosystem are rather smart. So there's a few of them that were playing with that. And they were making DCC was all over that. Guys like Wave 3 TV all over that. Guys, DeFi Proof all over that. You know what I mean? So this is what $50 can do in a pool if you match it with another $50 to $75 in the beginning of an asset, because I bought this asset when the valuation was probably $6,000 USD, like for the volume. And, that's the kind of reward you can expect from $50 when you're the first guy in. And if I do that every day, guys, I earned $30, well, probably $50 a day, because this was like later in the day yesterday. So
And 4,300 is going to fluctuate, but think about this, guys. $4,300 means that your money is doubling.
Oh,
Like
it's on a
something like-
10x multiplier right now, Sam. I forgot to tell everyone that. That's the reason I was doing it. It's because there's a 10x multiplier, and I think it's still active.
And this means that like these opportunities are not like as in I'm going to lock my shit up for a year. I'm going to make 4,300x or 43x what I had in there. These things will fluctuate as time goes on. Like maybe in 2 weeks, this is 2,400. But with 4,300, in about 5 days or 8 days, if you run the math, the money's doubled. So if you do $50, like in 5 days, now you got $100.
And look here, so this is where people will get confused, I promise, because I got confused because some of the front ends show your current liquidity providing position in some sort of interface, and some of them just don't. And then they have a little button up here that says you can just remove the tokens you put back in, because they don't really want you to do it. So they don't like balls deep advertise it. But yes, all you have to do is click liquidity and then click over here and it pulls all your stuff, or you can add liquidity, or you can find another LP token. And then you can kind of, blah, 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 blah. And I have 2 more, and we can look at the differences too if you guys want to run through them, because I have UniW as well on here, UniW swap. And then I also have hip hop swap. So we can take a look at those. I'll pull this down for 1 second and pull those ones up. I hope that showed some people like why getting into these V2s early, because generally marketing, they provide liquidity for you a little bit in the beginning because they want it to be popping. And I just bank on the things that I think are doing great when it comes to marketing their Telegram groups, or at least trying to do something. But this is all about NFT shit, guys. People that are using this site are doing volume over here in the launch thing because there's NFTs over there. But guys that are smart will never click this button. They will just click this button and you will earn. Instead of don't launch the app to buy NFTs, earn on the guys that are doing the apps and the NFTs. That's called being the casino rather than playing at it.
Axis, what are your thoughts on what GRC just went through?
I mean, it's cool, man. I'd chase the bonuses too. I mean, that's cool. I just feel like you gotta dump it after the multiplier's gone. That's just my gut feeling.
But the circulating supply is only 500 million, and that's what people.
I don't know anything of the fundamentals of it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I look at those numbers right away.
Dude, I'm super bearish on just random little shit because I just don't have. So for me, like I value my fucking mental space so much that I'd rather just trust. Like, dude, our Hedron did so well. Like I'm so happy with that. Like I'm not chasing this stuff.
And I've never done this, if this is fair.
Well,
I've never
and
geeked out on the computer.
Here's the thing:
I was smacking a hammer against.
I'm not saying that it's bad. It's just like I feel like it's only natural that we learn this stuff now, so that in the next bull run you can become a market maker, right? That's why we're doing this, right? So that when you have enough money to throw around, that you can't just exit positions because you have hundreds of thousands of dollars of this shit. You're gonna want to know how to set LP on the way up when it's going to $5 hex or $10 hex, like. Oh, awesome. Did you set it and forget it? And, you're already up so many multiples. Like, you don't have to come back to the computer all the time. Like, it's going to be nice, man. And it's like all good stuff to do. Like, and I mean, if you're like a high schooler, college age kid, and you're sitting in your dorm room every day looking at this shit anyway, well, why aren't you taking these opportunities with $50 that you got from doing something or $100 or something? Just take the extra little cash and just try to multiply it. Cause crypto is the place to do it, and GymRat's like always on top of it.
And that's a good point because we're all in different places. Like GRC is in a different spot than I am. Axis is in a different spot than I am, and you guys, wherever you might be in your journey, are in a different spot. So the things that like to go through and provide liquidity on something for $50 and multiply your money 3x in a week and a half is like something that like we might find. Super
and the
cool.
underlying assets, Sam, because if you look here, what are we at? We're at ETH-POW, and we're at the 24-hour trading volume, 4.3 million in 24-hour volume, and 52,000 transactions in the last 53,000 transactions in the last 24 hours. So what was I looking for when I bought Alien, and why did I do it? And again, this was all for streaming and learning, for real. I was not trying to flip a buck on this shit. I was really just trying to figure it out for sure, so I could talk to the people about it.
More but power to you. That's fucking sick, bro. You made a 3x, bro.
Number 13 right here, Alien Exchange, okay? So there's 1,000 transactions I was before all of those, right? So I was the day before. And I bought this token, for example, and this is what I'm just trying to show people. I don't really give a shit, to be honest. It's $50 fucking. If you guys can't handle it, it's whatever. But I was buying it like right here, right here, right here a little bit just to get enough to have a position. And then you can see now it's 1 cent per token, and I get 100,000 of those or whatever. And you provide LP, and you can actually earn WETH on that too. It's a lesser degree, but so there's a lot of ways to do it, guys. But this, when the trading volume on this, when I started, was zero, but I knew
liquidity was at 72,000 just now. I was just looking at that.
Yeah. And in that, so you guys, it's dollar for dollar. So now I can take out, 10 grand, 20 grand from that if I really wanted to, but I only spent, $50 to $100 on the asset. And that's just what I'm talking about, guys. This is 4 different computers. Each computer that I have is a different network I generally use. Of course, you have to switch over from time to time. But in general, when I open this computer, this one's kind of free for all because it's my streaming computer. But the other 3, it's ETH, ETHW, ETHFair. For right now, I'll get another computer if there's another primary blockchain that I'm using, because I am an unorganized guy and I know myself really well. So this is super important to me. This is everything to me. So, and I want to make sure I'm calculated and I'm smart. And if I have a problem from providing LP or I get hacked or something, I'm going to be glad it's on an account that I have 5 different accounts and 3 different, it's important to spread yourself out and really know what's going on. And some people don't want to do that. So don't do that. Don't fucking provide LP on these random chains. Don't learn that shit. Do not do that. Like Axis is like, dude, I'm chilling. And I'm like, dude, and that's what he's kind of saying. He's like, I'm not trying to get all up on there right away, because he's also made a fuck ton more money than me in crypto. Okay. So he's trying to just drink his martini and smoke a J and talk to his boys and do some studying. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
do
trying
like
to get
studying.
this back.
I honestly, you guys, I take very few trades. Like, I just want to take the really good ones. And they usually work out. Like, I give you an example of a random one I took. So when all your friends found out about Helium network token at like 50 and 60 bucks, and they were buying like thousands of miners and shit, I had already sold mine on eBay for 3x what I paid for it, and mined over 10 grand worth of coin.
And then people were like, it's a good deal now. And you were like, yeah.
Yeah. No. I saw like what they were going for on eBay. Like, I paid 500 for this little router thing, and then they were like going for like 1,600, 2,000, and I'm just like, that's the top. Because if you go through the mining cycle a couple times, the equipment does the same. It does the same kind of gains and losses relative to price, and you just know if equipment's 4x the price, it's probably getting topped.
What is that's awesome. I've heard I think somebody else had told us a little story about that, and it was before my time in crypto, but I love hearing about it and building the context around it. I wanted to know what your thoughts are on V3 versus V2 when it comes to Pulse, right? Pulse X is going to be V2. I have said here multiple times that if there's a front end for V3, I will not be using Pulse X primarily. I'll be using V3 primarily, at least for LP providing and probably for swaps, because I prefer V3 because I can take the specific range. I can set up a limit order in where you limit order in V2, you pay the slippage as the buyer. A limit order in V3, I don't pay the slippage, right? I actually earn the slippage in that process. So when I think about Pulse chain launching, I think about Pulse X. I'm like, cool, this is gonna be dope, this will be awesome. I think it's gonna be great. I think they're trying to make it even better, right, than what has been stated. But I see that like the people who are like, I want to use the term OG, but I don't think that's the appropriate term. I think that people who have a deeper understanding of swaps are going to migrate to V3. And we've also heard Richard Hart say this multiple different streams that he can't use the AMM fixer bot, which is for people who don't have the context. Richard has said that he has a AMM fixer bot, which is basically going to be a vampire attack on other dexes. So think of like a vampire draining the blood out of a victim, right? To live off of and grow, right? And just sustain themselves. Well, think of like Pulse X sending out these little vampires to other dexes to pull blood out of those. And that blood, in this sense, is liquidity, right? So it's going to send out a vampire to SushiSwap that's going to be copied over into Pulsechain, and it's going to try to drain all the blood out of there, right? But he said on multiple talks that he cannot do that with V3. So when you think about this and you put all this together, it's like, okay, wait, V3 is substantially better than V2. Really big innovation in DeFi. You can't pull the liquidity out of those. Cool, right? The ETH pairs are still only going to have a millionth of what the ETH did have, right? But I just see a migration back to V3 up until the point where the license is available for PulseX to actually copy the license for V3. And I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on this. Like, add any insights you think about this.
Yeah. Hex did the biggest gains it ever did on Uni V2. So when you bind the liquidity to itself in such a way, it's actually going to be a better way to bootstrap price early on. So I don't know if there's any ulterior design intentions there and not doing V3 sooner.
Understand that V2 in the beginning, when there's no liquidity, when there's new users, when people are pushing in, is ridiculous gains.
Yeah.
But when that premium switches between V3 and V2, because the liquidity gets to a certain point, it switches forever. It does never turn back.
Well, we can't know for certain, right?
Well, that's what my head is telling me. I didn't want to say exactly.
We can make certain assumptions that it'll follow the same trajectory and there will be a V3 and it'll be adopted. But I think who's saying that still isn't the case? I mean, they could come up with a solution to create some sort of single-sided liquidity solution. Maybe it's just comes later, after the prices have already ran hard, or who knows? Like that's the kind of the beauty / like evil of the fact that these design decisions are in a few hands, is that it can be so good, but you might, like, whatever decisions are going to be made on Pulsechain through Richard Hart, it's always going to be with the best intentions long term. So like if you can't use V3 for a while, there's probably some sort of intention behind it. That's kind of where I'm coming at from it. Like, but yeah, it's super useful for basically doing exactly what we've basically come around and said that V3 is good for, which is exiting positions or entering positions, and
the safety and the health of a price chart.
Yes, and like being able to set your range and everything. Yes, it's great in so many ways. So yeah, I mean, and it's kind of weird that he would launch it without it, right? You think, because it's like technology going backwards. Well, I'm starting.
You just made something click in my head, but when you were saying earlier that maybe there's some game theory there that we don't understand, and they definitely understand. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think anyone else has really said that yet, but it's just been a thought in my mind for a while.
I think you might have a good point. Maybe V2 is a great early initial way to get something popping, but maybe at the same time,
I'm just looking at it straight from like,
option. How can we say they won't have the V3 option at launch?
Well, yeah, we can't for sure. Well, there's that. They could maybe do some other sort of version of it if they have a year to build it.
Well, the other thing, I think I agree with Bobby here, Bobby Davis. I think Richard, that like the license is supposed to be due, from my understanding, in May, right?
Oh, okay. That's news to me.
May 2023. So I could see that, like, if you really want to go above and beyond, and clearly people have heard how a big fan Richard Hart is of V3, right? Because it's a giant innovation, right? It's like a big innovation from V2, having the range orders, which then allows you to single-sided stake. It allows you to do limit orders where you don't have to pay the slippage. It allows somebody, Motley, what's good, Motley? Motley had mentioned you don't get the incentive token. Well, you can get the incentive token, but then with concentrated liquidity, with a much smaller position, I can create way more of an impact, which just means I can earn more fees with concentrated liquidity on $10,000 than Axis with $100,000 on V2, because his is spread over the entire range, where I can take $10,000 and earn more in V3 than Axis could in V2 because of that concentrated liquidity. It's something, Axis, do you know the number? It's like 4,000x or something along those lines. With the most concentrated position.
No, but I would say that right now the market conditions are optimal for concentrated liquidity. But as the market starts to trend quickly, then that stops being an effective strategy until the trend reverses. So like you're catching that concentrated liquidity play when it's most useful.
So I have
Correct.
here I have UniW swap.
Sorry, GymRat. One other thing just about Motley reminded me about the incentive token is that's also what I thought was going to drag people in and make them a little bit more okay with there not being a V3.
Well, the incentive token is the way that, I mean, so, okay. So you're saying you're earning
To any degree, whether you're staking the LP tokens and getting it, or you're trading that chart, I feel like it could do. That's why it doesn't get talked about, is because we don't see the implications of it yet.
100%. So here we have UniW swap, guys, which I noticed on day 2, I think, or day 2 or day 3. And this is a very little amount of money, but guys, don't be confused about the percentages of the pool, because they're different for depending on the circulating supply. So if you see like 0.000, just know that's just the normal rate for whatever you put in comparatively. So pooled uni, pool ETHW, pool share. So I want to go to farms, because I moved all this to the farm, because that's how you do it. And this will take a second to load. Oh, I got to connect. Oh, no, it connected. All right,
go ahead.
Here we go, guys. So we have Uniswap yielding. I think it takes a second to load all the numbers. So just give that a second on the numbers. But the message is the same for all of these. The UI is a little different for each one, so don't be really shocked if something doesn't pop up in the same spot that it pops up on the other one. But just know, guys, multiplier 8x, APY 1,671, and I don't know why. Oh, here it is. This is my pool. My bad. So I have rewards, $5 in rewards from last night, and that's just. And I think I have 12 UniW staked, like 50. No, I have 50 UniW staked, which is like $50, and I have $120 of ETHW in there. So, and I've earned, and I was just playing with all these guys. I'm not doing, I get all this back. So I get my ETHW back, and yeah, I might have one or the other. You dump this shit. There's plenty of liquidity. Total locked value, 1,701,000 or 1,701,000. Uni price 1.2. That was at $2 just yesterday. Market cap 1 million. So yielding 56,492 tokens per day to stakers over the next 870 days. So they have a land. You can see how that 870 days they have an inflation rate that stops there. So we'll see until they change these rates and these multipliers. It's just an interesting situation, guys. But I mean, if you extrapolate this, and the other one I think was more than that, and then I have like 9 other positions that are extremely heavy compared to these ones. Like these ones are just my streaming computer. Make sure you can tell the people what's safe and what's not, kind of shit. So just understand, guys, like when I did this pool, there was only this and this here. And that was just yesterday. And now look at, there's a bunch of shit. So I think it's just really important to understand. And I could show one more if people want it, but if they don't, if that's understandable for everyone, I'm not going to show the V3 because they're all on my crypto computers. And I don't feel like showing them.
That kind of gives a good idea of what this stuff looks like.
Yeah, I think so too. And I wanted to ask another question. So when it comes to providing liquidity, in your opinion, guys, where does this, for the guys in here that maybe have a little more money, for the guys in here that aren't strapped for cash, you know what I mean? Like the guys that could put in a buy whenever they want, they have a couple houses, they have a family, they've been doing this for a while. What is the bet? And this is like one of the things that I want to stream to everyone, because I want them to know specifically out of your mouth, what is the best way, the most healthy way, the most friendly to the community way to exit a position while having no fees associated?
Go ahead,
Sam. Oh shit, you take it away.
All right, so you're talking GRC. I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly.
So if you have a billion hex and you're like, yeah, I'm definitely going to sell some. Like this just is what it is, right? What are you going to do as a smart man and as a, someone who like, you don't want to hurt the chart or eat slippage or anything like that, I don't think. So what would you do to make that the most efficient for you and potentially the community?
So I'm going to pull up this is info.uniswap.org. So this is the mainnet information for Uniswap. These should be available on ETH and ETHW in the future. But what you do, once you go to this site, then you can search for hex up here, right? You can see there's 11 million TLV here, which is the total value locked across all these pools here, right? We're going to go to hex in USDC here, and we're going to go to liquidity. This is going to be what we were looking at earlier, or some variation of the Axis has actually pulled up here. And let's zoom in a little bit. Actually, let's zoom out. Oh, you can't see it. See this position right here? That is this little spike on the screen here. That is, my computer's a little slow. That is somebody trying to sell, right? So somebody has a large position in hex that they want to sell. You can go into V3, set up a single-sided position. That's what this is right here. This is a single-sided position. You open this up, and this is a range from 24 hex per USD to 23.5 hex per USDC. You can set this range in V3. And it's like, I want to sell my hex, so I can set this up. And you can, just how people talk about building a ladder in hex, right? You're like, okay, cool, I'll do one next year, one the year after, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can set a ladder to sell your hex in these limited positions, right? So this is a certain amount of hex that somebody is trying to sell to the market at this specific price, a limit order, right? But instead of them paying the slippage, they get to actually get paid that slippage. So like what GRC was saying, this person, instead of driving the price down, instead of paying that 0.3% to swap from hex to something else, what they do is they set this position up, and then once that pink line goes from where it's currently at and it moves over this way, right, and raises up over here. Now, as it goes through here, at any point to the left of this, they're all in USDC. So what they were able to do is sell their hex at the rate of this and this to whoever was buying. Now they have all USDC, and then they can set up another position over here to sell a bunch more hex, and then set up another one over here and over here to sell more and more hex to the marketplace. That's what these right here at the very top, right? You see there's a little line to the top of the pink line, a little line to the top over here. This person over here is selling. This person over here is buying. So that means if this price comes down, this person will buy. If the price goes up, this person is going to sell. So I wanted to get out of a position, and I didn't want to pay the fees, and I didn't want to move the price against me, and I wanted to make money to actually sell my position, and I was patient. Then that's a lot of ands, by the way. Mm-hmm. I would go through and set up and it sounds complex until you just go through and do it a couple times. Like, it sounds complex to start a business, right? You got to set up your LLC, you got to set up an EIN, you got to take your documents to a bank, and you got to set up a bank account, and you got to figure out how to, like, it sounds complex until you go through it several times, and then you're like, oh, well, it's really not that bad.
Yeah, dude, you just got to take it step by step.
What did you have any thoughts on that, or did I miss anything?
It all sounded good. The other thing you can do if you're a shark or a fucking dolphin or shark and you want to get rid of some of your hex bag, just find someone to OTC with you. Like, there are people who will buy your coins.
Is there
call up Rackham. I don't have a resource, but I can look into that though, because it's more about just who you know. Yeah, there are people that'll what's the word I'm looking for? They'll intermediary the deal or whatever.
Tell somebody what that means, right? So people probably may not be aware of like what OTC means, or like.
Yeah, OTC stands for over the counter, which just simply means like you're gonna make a deal off chain with somebody, handshake deal. Sometimes there's paperwork involved, sometimes there's not.
And make sure that you don't tell them about slippage, so you can crush them on that 4%.
Well, that's the nice thing about when you're selling like hundreds of millions or billions of an asset, is you can there's a little more flexibility with the pricing.
Exactly. I totally agree.
You're giving somebody else power over your network when you do that. So if you're going to sell 1 billion tokens, you're probably not going to sell them at market price. You're probably going to put some sort of a premium on them. Otherwise, it's not worth selling them, because you could do it on the market anyway, right? But you're going to
that's
find different kinds of buyers and
say
sellers.
that again. Say that again, because that's
Well,
counterintuitive.
it's the same count. So it's what I said was that you could charge a premium because of the ease of the transaction and the trust that's involved, and because you're giving somebody actual real power over your network, like because they have enough economic weight to crush the price back down if they got shook or whatever. So like, there's a lot of reasons why you would an OTC deal does it. It's kind of like real estate where that's a lot of the pricing can be subjective based on the needs of the buyer or the seller. And then in the mining world, it's kind of a similar thing with mining. Like you want to think of it like dirty coins versus clean coins. Like clean coins just got fresh minted right hot off the press. They just got dumped from a pool into your wallet, and then that's the only transaction that's ever occurred. Never touched an exchange, never did anything. Those coins come with a premium as well, but you only find them OTC from a miner. Same for fresh staked hex, I guess too. I mean, there's like layers to this game, and you know, the crypto guys that are winning. Like, this is a race for no coiners now. Like, they need to get in, or they're getting left behind. Like, everyone else already figured the game out.
I've been trying to let people know about OTC deals just because, you know, people that have done any sort of trading in the world know that there's going to be over-the-counter trading as well at the top generally, and that. It's interesting. Does the implications of that hurt or help the price chart? I think that in general is up for debate, because if you're buying, why they're not buying on exchange, that price ain't going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But think
so
about
they could just dump it, and then the other dude got cash, no slippage. They could just dump
dude.
it.
If you're gonna buy $1 billion of hex, and you're gonna have another like 200 million on the side ready to pump the chart.
Yeah, but what if it does a 50x?
Well, no, yeah, for sure. They'll try to make a 50x with the 200 mil.
I know, but no, there's definitely, you're saying that generally that would be the actions of someone like that.
Yeah, like if you're attacking an asset, you're gonna attack it from every angle. You're gonna pump the chart. You're gonna buy OTC, a ton of it that you couldn't get otherwise before you pump the chart. Then you're gonna pump the chart. Then you're gonna. But here's the thing: is like this bottoming phase has been awesome because it's basically showed you all the weak hands just dumping all their bags into like these giant feeder buckets. The whales got their mouths open below 3 cents, and they're just like sitting there waiting. They're accumulating, and then once like it doesn't take much to, like, I think it's like a $250,000 to $400,000 hex buy gets us back going again right now, because we're just bouncing on those moving averages. So the market's it looks juicy. I'm actually looking at the chart right now, and we just printed like a tiny red candle, but there's a lot of so with that said, I can be bullish all I want, but we are in economic crazy times, and like the S&P's hanging by a thread, and like Apple stock made like a crazy breakdown, which is like your leading indicator. You know, Nvidia, GPU producer for Ethereum mining, they're in the tank right now. They just broke key levels. Bitcoin is holding up pretty good, and we'll get our answer by the end of the month whether or not we get a bounce going into November.
Q3 bounce, GRC's calling for it. Totally fake out though.
There's a huge. To me, it seems like there's a squeeze going on, because there's just so much money to be made on a fucking crazy bull rally here.
Right? Q3 can be and this is just
usually October is like a good month, I think. On 2018, it was like not that good of a month, but every other year it's been decent.
I would like to hear your thoughts, Axis, on something that I'm doing that I don't think anybody else should do, unless you're like completely like okay with all the details of understanding it. But I wanted to acknowledge what you just said and use an example in real life to confirm this that I had not thought about. So thank you for this.
You bet.
You'd mentioned OTC, 1 billion tokens, is not going to sell at a discount. And when you look at that in real life, that's how it plays out. But the framework that I was using was that it's going to sell at a discount because I wasn't thinking about that it's the same market dynamics that happen in the physical world that are same exact thing happen in crypto, where $1 billion tokens of something, right, or a substantial value, USD value of a pool of some sort, whether that's hex or something else, OTC can sell at a premium And when you look at the real world to see if like, does this hold up in the real world? Is this happening in other places? You don't have far to look. There's things called roll-ups, which is like, say, laundromats or anything like that. I can go buy one laundromat.
Car wash?
Car wash. Perfect. I can buy a car wash, right? And I have one car wash, and I paid, 2.5, 1.5, 3x the earnings for that single one. Now, I go buy 10 of those single car washes for 2x their earnings on an annual basis, right? So if they're making 60 grand, I'm paying $120,000 for this, right? Now, when you aggregate those together, that 10 is not just going to sell to 2x because the conglomerate is bigger. I have 10 car washes now. It doesn't just sell for a 2x. Now it sells for a 5x or 7x. Same thing happens in real estate. If I have a single family home that I have as a rental, and then I put together a portfolio of 100 single family homes, that is going to sell at a premium to hedge funds or banks or pension funds, etc., because they don't have to do all the work of putting together the pieces, and it's going to sell at a premium. And I thought that was a really interesting point you brought up around OTC and a large position in a token, that you can actually sell that at a premium because you see example after example after example in real life how this actually sells it more than what it was paid for, because it's all put together, because you have a market player that's like, that you and me are not going to be buying this yet, right? I don't have the capital to do that, but there is tons of players out there who do have the capital. They don't want to hurt the price. They want good terms. They have a party that they trust, as you mentioned, right? And you can have it mediated and just done with. Nobody has to know about it, right? Like as Richard Hart says, and somebody pointed out in the chat here, Richard Hart has not sold any on-chain of Hex. And I'm not saying
also mentioned that he made Uniswap popular. He also mentioned that Uniswap was the most influential technology in the last decade. He also mentioned that he loves Uniswap and he really thinks that he made it popular, and I agree with him. And read between the lines on that a little bit. I mean,
especially putting that into context of V3,
because verbs are very important in speech. And when he says I've never sold on chain, he probably means he's never gone to an exchange and pressed sell, because of course he's never. But I trust RH at the same time and think anything he does for the ecosystem has the long-term benefit in mind. And that's just on me. That's on me. Like that's just my shit. Like you
could have sold off chain potentially. I'm not saying he did. I'm not trying to say that.
Or he could have just provided LP like he basically tells everyone he does.
So now what I wanted to hear your thoughts on Axis. Crypto's the future, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people agree with that. Fiat's dying. And there's, I don't think that using leverage in crypto is personally a strategy that I would use, because there's so many risks to leverage in crypto. I'm comfortable using leverage in fiat because it's been around for 150 years. And there's all the details are ironed out, right? You don't have to take on volatility squared, or what volatility squared and then squared again, with purchasing or like using a risky volatile asset and then borrowing a riskier volatile asset in crypto. And then you have volatility squared put together, right? Like that's just not an intelligent strategy from my point of view, because then you're holding the volatility, where that is not the case in fiat. So I'm currently in the process of getting a loan in fiat to put into crypto. And I think that this is like a once in a lifetime type of thing, because I can just pay this off if I wanted to, right? But
that's why it's possible for you. And I would never recommend it to somebody who couldn't afford the loan. But like if you have revenue, then you can take a percentage of that revenue and allocate that towards that. That's just how business is done. And I think that's a good idea, especially when we're down here these low in these prices. And you don't have to ape. You could do 2 loans or 3 loans over a 3-year period. Each year, the bear market, you can add or something. I don't know. There's different ways to approach it. But then as long as your main sources of income are going to cover the cost of the loan, and you know that that's solid and stable and you can grow that even more, then yeah, I mean, you're in a perfect position to like accumulate. That's what you want, is you want the water spigots to be pouring into the crypto bucket without affecting your bottom line and your savings and your cash balance.
Yes, 100%. Yes.
Yeah,
This is
and
cool.
just if you guys are wrecked, super mega wrecked, and you're watching this show, please just learn.
The other thing too was make sure that you buy some crypto with just your money, because you always want to have that bucket that's fully yours, that's not leveraged, because that'll ultimately save you in times of total
stakes
chaos.
are great for that.
My staking ladder is the foundation of my crypto. So
Yeah,
I usually
here.
pretty
Here, to be honest. Like
about that.
My foundation might be look a little different,
because
but
for the same reason that the hex billions of hex would go as a premium is because you're trying to price in future yield that's possible from that asset. So like everyone forgot that hex is still one of the best, most secure yielding assets out there, because it's a Veblen good. So people chase price up and people chase price down, and we just happen to be in freaking Goblin Town right now. Everyone forgot that this thing generates yield, and that if you have $1 million of it, you can get a few grand a month off it. It's so silly to me that people forgot that. But anyway, sorry for interrupting you so much, GRC. At least 33%.
no, it's all good. I need interrupting. I'm working on. I need interrupting. I'm working on that. I'm trying to let people interrupt me more in general. It's helpful for conversation, but as you get more comfortable streaming, you get a lot less like excited. It's like you're calm when you're talking to people. It's less of a big deal.
Well, we like excited GRC.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've given this hell for the last 10 days, dude. I'm tired, frankly, and everyone in my life.
I'm tired, and outro.
I'm tired. Like, I'm tired, and everyone, but I'm doing this because this is the future, and I can work for 2 years and put my head down, guys. Like, I ain't scared to do that. Like, that's nothing. That is fucking nothing. Imagine someone say, man, if you put your head in the books for 2 years and you invest a little bit of money and you focus really hard, you'll probably never have to work actively again on anything you don't want to. That's very powerful to me, and I'm willing to sacrifice myself for other people to feel the benefits that I've felt since I got into crypto. And I've been, ever since I've been really active in crypto. Yeah, I made a lot of money on the COVID-19 dump of Bitcoin, but I didn't really know what was going on at the time. But then I sold the top when I found Richard Hart, sold the top ish, like 57K or something. And then I went all in on this shit, like all in on this stuff. And then I got hacked real bad for like 40 grand. And then, so it's been a wild ride, but I'm here, and it's all been 300 days. All that's over. I have 5 times the amount of money that I have ever had, frankly. If anyone really wants to know, but I don't spend, I've never really taken money out of crypto.
From the top to the bottom to the
Just
top. Let's go.
Axis, what do you think about the LP positions on W and F versus mainnet?
I'm sorry, what about W and F?
What are your thoughts on the liquidity on both of these, providing liquidity on F and W?
So, I mean, we talked a little bit in the green room. I was like skeptical, obviously, because I'm thinking, who's going to rug first? That's naturally, I think that way. But like, no, dude, from learning from you two just for like 10 minutes about providing over there, like it seems like there's like a huge opportunity right now to like make some quick cash. Seems pretty cool, like if to take a small bet, right?
Exactly, especially because you don't really lose the principal on your hex that you're putting up.
GRC proved to me that if you're first, you're never going to be last. I can't say much more than that.
Well, exactly, man. Like you gotta just be. I was in a different position than everyone. I was waiting for an opportunity for months and months and months, and I capitalized on Hedron super mega heavy, by the way. Got it. And Maxi.
That's your best trade this year, probably, huh?
My best trade was Pulse Doge at 420 for the bottom of Hedron.
So, by the way, that chart looks crazy against Hex right now. I don't know if you want to look at that quick.
And we called that too. I called price discovery on Hedron before any Hex action goes on, because I think it's so light comparatively that when that momentum starts going, it'll pop and Hex will just be ready to go, So let's check whatever Axis pulled up.
I mean, this is just a Pulse Doge chart against the dollar. So we called in the private chat the other day, we called a breakout right here. We called for something. Actually, somebody brought it to my attention. Like, can you look at the Pulse Doge chart? And then I made this triangle pattern, and then I copied it a couple times, like looked at the variance and the RSI. So when I drew this blue line is when I thought it was going to go to here. It wasn't going to quite make it, but it made it to this previous high. And the RSI, it channeled the same way twice over, and then the momentum got way above, just like it did back here. And green, buyers are way above sellers. Same here, buyers way above sellers. So it's like it's doing similar moves, and so your targets are, you know, I don't know if this is the move that goes straight up. Obviously, probably, you know, twice as long as this move here, maybe, and then you're gonna hit your 1.618 out here. That's what I'm thinking right now, based on what I'm seeing. But if you compare it against Hex, this is why I was so bullish on it, is because like, look at what does this to Hex besides Hedron, you know?
Oh,
so what chart? What chart is this right here? This is Hex PL.
This is PLSD Hex. So like Pulse Doge is up and Hex is down. So PLSD is making all-time highs against Hex. Basically.
What's the liquidity on PLSD these days?
It's you got 250 grand in USDC pair, and you got 100 grand in the Hex pair.
So this should make you guys really excited about some of these other pairs and PLSD on the other chains too. You know, I'm providing LP with my PLSD, so on ETHPAL. So if you PLSD guys, I see the trading volume over there, PLSD guys. I see you guys trying to connect to those dApps. I see you guys moving in. But again, I sold all my PLSD. Everyone told me I was a hater, but that was months and months ago, and it's been down ever since. But again, I got distracted.
It's time to maybe look at PLSD again. Anyway, that's what
I love it. I fucking love this fucking life.
Hedron, man. Look at this chart.
Okay. Let's talk about I call it Hedron, you know,
or Hedron, whatever. I've called it both, yeah.
And that it's on both chains, right? Like it's on both chains. I think it's Access. Talk to us about Hedron. What are your thoughts about Hedron? Like
price wise or just fundamentally?
Both.
He's a perma bull.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's going to track T-share rate the same way Hex does, because Hedron is just Hex, but it's got a different inflation schedule. So and it gets rarer faster because no more 10x minting bonuses, more Hedron burned to purchase 5555 stakes, more Hex locked up. It's just like a spiral.
More users that understand crypto have the initial. Like I understood crypto kind of, and all the Hexicans that had stakes for a long time kind of pretty much understood crypto to a degree. But when Hex came out, you can't really necessarily say the same. I think more people are speculative upside of this than Hex early on.
Yeah. I don't know if you just want to like price wise out, like let's be super bearish once and then we can be bullish too. Like, I mean, you got to think fundamentally the auctions are still coming. So, I mean, this isn't necessarily the way I see it playing out, but I mean, you could get down into this like tap this 0.5 level one more time, you know, but you'd want that to happen quicker with like you'd want that to happen quicker with like the way, you know, with the auctions coming up and everything. So that's not necessarily the way I'm seeing this play out. Right now it's holding the 0.786, but it's below this 21 daily moving average. And last time we tried to get above it here, we couldn't. But this was before ICOSA was a thing and all the excitement around burning Hedron for more Hex stakes, and the whole ecosystem's kind of got fuel now. So this seems to me to be playing out more like this sideways action, where it was like just kind of overbought for a while, but we're just gonna, you know, wait and just try to build structure here going into November, I guess, toward the end. And then this thing's not out of the. It cracked under here and got right back above. It cracked under here, got right back. So this is.
Why is Hedron getting listed?
The market is literally neutral as fuck right now for Hedron. It's totally neutral. I mean, the sellers and buyers are like the same level right now. So it's just, and market momentum is just chilling. Slightly under 50.
Sell-off really pinched the supply out to new users.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
Like guys like me were spending $100, $200, $300, $500 at the bottom. And
see how see on the RSI here where we're like it's building price structure here, like it's bouncing on this what was previous resistance. It's now creating support on it. I mean, this looks like early Hex. This is like making me want to go back and pull up the original Hex chart.
So guys, Poly is a pool for Hedron to buy the HSI auctions. I didn't know the word Poly. Like I hadn't heard that word yet. I want to buy Hedron due to Dipcatcher's video announcement last night for Poly Maximus. So I'm going to have to be looking at some videos. Certainly.
I mean, I'm still thinking like we're still down in this region down here on Hedron. This is the early Hex shit. I think everything we did printed, we were like still in this region. We haven't really made we haven't really tried to search toward parity yet, in my eyes. But
Oh,
I'm
no.
stupid bullish.
Well, I mean, the Gunther candles really, and I say this because this is why the LP, like if Gunther left that position properly, he would have made a lot more money and he would have made the price chart potentially, you know, a little more sideways, to be honest, because that really did pinch the supply. Sometimes those God wicks really do pinch the supply to guys like me and guys that are new and guys that don't have, because remember, Sam has not been in the game for but 200 days now ish. And he really has never purchased Hex on the Ethereum chain for the most part, as far as I'm concerned. I don't.
You guys both have far more stakes than I do.
Well, and I probably, if I started at the same time you would be looking more like yours. But again, my stakes compared to most people's are extreme. Like 33% of my like USD value is probably in stakes, and that for most people is like
You like
60,
this chart?
70, 80.
This is like Hex versus Hedron, or Hedron versus Hex. I mean, you know, we broke the parabola a while ago, but it's just looks good to me. Just trying to find support, and on the RSI, it's getting squeezed super hard, which is, you know, a move is coming, but it looks like it's rounding out.
Do you mind checking out the ETH POW chart and the Hex POW chart and the Hedron POW chart?
Yeah, this is Hex versus WETH on ETH POW.
Yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts.
I mean, I had this drawn a couple days ago, this to touch down here at the point, basically for a double bottom. And then below that, I just kind of made this like curve based on these touch points of the lows so that you could see if you got over performance to the downside that you'd get to here, roughly, which puts you back at like this base before the big breakout. So, I mean, this is how I come to conclusions on prices. All the past price data plus fib retracements plus curves just based on over, and then looking for things like overperformance or anomalies. Like these are trading terms that I kind of create for myself to try to define the rules of the game, because crypto happens so fast. You need to have a sick set of rules so you can play by. Yeah, I mean, this chart here looks, I don't even know how to explain it, because I think what you're seeing here in downside on Hex versus WETH is that WETH chart's going up so quick, but I haven't looked at it in a while. Let's see, what was the name of that? WETH US, what's it paired against over there?
For what you can do
on
Hex.
the proof of work chain.
You can probably do Hex, or you can do USDT. No, do WETH
wrapped ether.
Hex.
It's so, there's so many pairs.
There's
man.
so many pairs.
I know,
Go
dude.
to the volume. Just go back and then do top of volume, and then click ETH POW. And
go to the main.
You
go down to the left. Pair. Go down a little more.
Which
down.
one is it?
Right. Stop. Right. That's fair. That's POW.
Okay, POW. Got you.
And then go
to versus USDT, $10. Okay.
Looks similar to Hex.
Let me see daily chart. Well, if this is moving up, that would explain why Hex is moving down relative to it.
It's very sideways.
No, it's not. Or yeah, it is. It's just not as much as I thought. But check this shit out. Yeah, so they're kind of just floating right now. But yeah, it did make a big move though, right? Actually, do I have this inverted? No. Okay, sorry. I got so many stuff going on. This loaded the green candles as red and the red is green because I had to do an inversion on this Pulse Doge Hex to change the color. Anyway, sorry. It's crazy. Yeah. All these charts, bro. We got Pulsechain test net right here on all these other chains. So play around and like learn how you're gonna practice your trading strategies on these other chains with free money. This is Hexacosa, or Cosa versus Hex in that term, and it did a crazy down move. Somebody sold a ton of it, and then it just came right back, and now it's fine. It's back in its range. It's premium versus Hex. Pretty cool. Makes me a little more confident in it. I wasn't sure if it was going to do what it was going to do, but when we were back here at this point in the chart, I was basically drew out this trending up, and then this I didn't know if it was going to break this hard, but damn, I was like, damn, this is trending towards a premium. And it gave me the same vibes as the early days of Maxi, where I was like, first I was like, Max is going to get arbed 1-to-1 forever. Totally wrong about that. Totally wrong. And then now I saw this premium get punched in on this triangle, and I'm like, okay, this is going to do what Maxi did. because everything is chasing the T-share rate. And if you pull up the T-share rate, you can actually see it's a 5x over a 15-year span, basically.
What about Desi?
About what?
Because Desi with
Desi?
the Maximus guys. Because
I
that's
haven't looked
already
at the chart, but I know it went vertical, didn't it? 7-1.
It's selling at a premium right now. I don't know what the premium is. Let's see here.
Back Screener, my favorite website.
Yes. It's selling at probably like a 30% premium right now or something relative to Hex in 3 days or something like that.
Wow, 600K in here already? Yeah.
I think that a lot of people saw what happened with Maxi and they were like, I need to do this for Desi to get a 50% run in a bear market. Like, I think
Does this look right to you?
Yes. Let me pull this up.
So I'm getting like basically it came up 20% basically off the low.
Yeah.
Pretty solid.
Right? In 5 days, 3 days, whatever it's been.
I've really underestimated that whole thing.
The only reason I don't get as involved in these things is because I don't necessarily like when I get involved in something, I like the upside to be like way higher than a certain other asset that I have. And for my position personally, but if I had a fat fucking bag, I would have been all over this. And I did swap all my liquid Hex for Maxi, but I sold it at 11 cents.
The Desi pair, like I put in some Hex for that because I was like, my belief is that we're going to have a 50% premium before the Hedron launch, and I will be taking my Desi, and as we get close to the 50%, I think we're going to have more than a 50% premium before the Hedron liquidations, and I will continue to sell Desi as we do that. Once we hit 50%, once I get my 50% return on this relative to Hex, then I will start DCAing out of that position and into Hedron, because I think that this was like an easy 50% gain relative to Hex here. That I think a lot of people that also saw this, which can happen, that can cause two things, right? So that means this could happen very, very quickly because other people understood what happened with Maxi, or because the pool is so big, people are like, I'm going to sell at a 10% premium or a 20% premium or a 30% premium, meaning that the time frame to reach 50% could be drawn out, right? So we could compress that because there's more people involved, or that could actually extend depending on how other players respond relative to what's happening in the market. So it's interesting to watch.
Hey guys, if you don't mind, Axis retweeted this with a very amazing chart, and if you could retweet his tweet and hit the like button, guys, on all the chains. And I'm assuming if you guys want to go for 15 more minutes, we can, but I don't want to keep you too long. I don't mind. But this is incredible, guys. I'm having such a good time. I'm learning so much. I feel like there's community building going on, and I like those vibes, and I like all of these vibes. So guys, hit the like and retweet this Access Alive tweet, and let the people know what's going on. Thank you, guys, and I hope everyone's enjoyed the show.
Yeah, man.
Well, this is a good point for wrap up. I got to get a call in a little bit, but this has been
any last second alpha for us. What's on your mind, Axis? Like, what's on your direct plate right now as far as thinking space?
I'm thinking about moving.
Where?
East Coast.
Florida?
Nah. No, up a little north of there. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. I'm not sure what I'm doing here. Vegas was real, man. It totally shifted my perspective.
Dude, me too, bro. Dude, I was literally like, I'm out as soon as I can get my ducks in a row. I'm out.
I mean, I love crypto and everything, and I just want to keep being a part of the community and providing value and trying to find out the future, where the chart's going to go. That gets me up every day. So I don't really have too much more to say, man. I just am always learning, same as you guys. You know, been in this game for 6 years, been in business for 4 years. It started at the bottom, just being a regular retail guy, worked retail. Did concrete construction. I worked for a radio station. I worked for the airlines. I did graphic design for myself, and I had to learn how to pick up the pieces internally and become my own man. And that's one thing that a lot of people struggle with these days. But like, if you're gonna get to a level of success, you need to have a healthy mind, healthy body. You have to have some sort of a belief in something other than yourself. If you have those things, and then you can start to form a community around you, you're gonna do really well for yourself. And I think, if you don't have somebody, keep coming back here every day and hanging out with the boys and just grow with us.
And you also have put together a community of like-minded people in the form of some idea sharing, learning from each other, that people pay for it, but I think that it's tremendous value to that kind of thing. Do you want to talk about that? And if somebody is interested in checking out your group, right, and just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we can touch on that briefly. So for those of you who might know who Silver the Antidote is, he basically, or who you do or do not know, he basically done chain analysis on the Hex contract and on the large ETH wallets for over 2.5 years now, and he has an account by account understanding of behavior patterns of the users in the Hex system. And with the nature of how Hex inflation works, it's good to be able to know and front run that information. So what Silver and I had put together with the help of Crypto Sloth was some sort of a place where you could bring together the charting, chain analysis, and any kind of game theory / strategies around LP providing, around learning chain analysis for yourself, around learning charting dynamics, learning macro and crypto. Put it all in one place for $200 a month, but we're only going to do it for 2 more months, and then we're going to take a break going into next year with Pulsechain. So what we're giving right now was just sort of a introduction to our methodologies, our best practices, one-on-one conversations. If you have questions, I usually respond pretty quickly. Same with Silver. And he also put up some bots so that we can actually track specific account data automatically, which is nice that you can get that there as well. And then he also purchased a Nansen software, which allows you to go deep into the Ethereum blockchain and know wallet behaviors outside of just Hex. And that has actually predicted certain downturns and upturns in the Ethereum chart within the last 2 months. So just kind of a place to come to grow quicker. If you want to jumpstart your learning with that stuff, you can through us. We are happy to bring people on board and then give feedback on what we can do better. And if that's something that interests you, you want to go to 0x Brennan on Twitter. You want to put that in the chat, or you can message myself or Silver the Antidote, and we'll get you figured out.
And you can, if you want to share that in the private, we can share it publicly. This has been a lot of fun. This has been insightful. I always enjoy these conversations and acknowledge you bringing people together in the community and providing value. You guys can check out my Twitter down below. GRC, you want to take us out of here and tell people to go check out your shit?
I got 40 followers till 10K on Twitter, guys. So go over there, smash the buttons. I'm going to be going live in 15 minutes. I have a video to react to, and I need to learn for another hour before I go on with the rest of my weekend because I'm relaxing tonight. I'm trying to relax a little bit. It's Saturday, but I got to do it, and I'm a work motivated individual. But at some points on the weekend, you just gotta drink a beer and sit there for a minute and make all your peoples happy. So everyone, have an amazing day. It's been incredible. Axis Alive, Sam Stolt, GymRatCrypto. We're out. We're punching hard every day. We're buying up the shit. We're low liquidity assets. Hex to the moon. Hedron, Icosa. Maxi's the best. Let's get it.
You already know what time it is. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. 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 Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Smoking a blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some Hex and I'm making a stay. Got me some Hedron, I'm making it rain. Pay me some Maxi and that just in case. GymRatCrypto sent me to show you the way.